She's a
Before we get into the podcast, make sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at This Strange World Podcast and on Twitter at This Strange Pod.
Welcome back to This Strange World. I'm Gavin.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Chris.
And Chris, today you have a topic which is really... Well, actually, let me start by saying this is our 20th episode.
Woohoo!
20?
Celebration!
Holy guacamole! That's insane!
That's crazy.
I can honestly say at the beginning of when we developed this idea of making this podcast, I didn't think we were going to reach 20 episodes. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't think we were going to reach it.
I was confident. It just seems like it's flown by. Like, I feel like it's come so quickly because
It doesn't feel like we've made 20 episodes.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. I think Gavin wanted to get past what's like the average amount.
Oh, I think
like
the average podcast like doesn't make it past 7 episodes. That like people come in with all this gusto of making stuff, and then after about 7 episodes, then they kind of like lose interest in it.
And we're one shy of tripling that.
Exactly.
We made 3 podcasts so far.
I was trying to remember that math. Like, wait, are we?
No, I'm sorry.
Math. Yeah.
But no,
big milestone for us. 20 episodes.
Yeah.
And currently, I mean, we've also passed 700 downloads normally. At this point, we might have passed even more than that. But
right.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for keep downloading the episodes like that.
Yeah.
That's amazing that we've had 700 downloads so far in 20 episodes.
Exactly. And if you have any suggestions, let us know, because we love making these podcasts and we want to continue making them, and we want to continue hearing your feedback and everything.
We're almost at the end of the season because we're only going to go to the end of the year. So, and then we're going to take a break and then we'll be back. But we only have like 8 episodes left after this. What?
Aww.
Crazy. I'm so sad.
Yes, Chris.
I wanted to say, when you were bringing up people to giving us suggestions, I was going to say, it does us no good just hearing us come up with the ideas all the time. I want you guys to hear what you guys want to hear, like give us what you guys want to hear so that we can give you the content that you guys are looking for.
Or just like DM us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or wherever. Like, we love feedback. And if you want to just say, hey, we listen, love it.
We're nice
we'll
people.
Respond.
Yeah, people have DM'd us, and it's always so sweet. It always gives us a little boost of serotonin to get us through this quarantine and soon seasonal depression.
Oh, don't even bring that up.
Pat on the back. But anyway, so Chris, you have a really interesting topic today, which is superstitions. Which I don't know if you guys are superstitious. But like not when it comes to many things. What about you guys? What's your take on that?
I would say I'm not like super superstitious. I would say I'm like, it's a joke, but I'm a little stitious just because it's like, it's like I made that joke before.
Comedy.
Because like, if I'll say something like a jinx or something, I'll knock on wood, but I don't believe that it's going to do anything. I'll just do it because, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in that same kind of boat. Like, I'll knock on wood if I'm like with people or like say something that like you should be knocking on wood for, but like I don't really believe it. I almost kind of get annoyed when people are like, "Oh, you can't talk about that. You're gonna jinx it." But it's like, I'm just trying to let's talk about it. Like,
I mean, I'm kind of like that when it comes to like when I hang out with Chris sometimes. Like, okay, for example, last Super Bowl, I forget what number it was when
54.
When the 49ers and
sure, that's you could have said any number and we would have been like, yep, that's
50
probably
something.
right.
54. It was 54.
No, I'm sure it was. I'm sorry, Leah, go ahead.
I was rooting for the 49ers because Garoppolo, and also they had a female coach, like field coach or something like that. So I was like, oh, it would be really, really awesome if they got the ring. And Chris was like, they're gonna win, and then they didn't win. So whenever it comes to sports, and Chris is like, oh, they're gonna win, oh, this is gonna happen, I'm just like, no, don't say anything, keep it to yourself, because I don't want you to jinx it. But I also do the typical kind of knock on wood sometimes.
All right, so this is more of a different episode than what I usually do. This is a very off-script, low-key episode. I'm going to be going on a couple of lists that I found online. The first one is from insider.com, and this is the fascinating history behind 11 common superstitions. So some of these are really interesting. I sort of briefly went through this. It's cool. It's cool. Great. So this is the first one I'm going to be talking about is you know how it's bad when you break a mirror? Like that's like, ooh, don't break mirrors. That's
like, have I done it in the past? I have, and nothing happened to me, but I'm gonna knock on wood there.
Well, you know, we'll be the judge of that. We'll be the judge of that. It says ancient Romans believed that mirrors contained fragments of our souls, so breaking a mirror signified a break in someone's health and well-being. But they also believed that souls regenerated every 7 years. So the amount of time the mirror breaking would be unlucky before they emerged was 7 years. So that's why you're not supposed to break mirrors, because they're a part of you.
There's a part of your soul in the mirror.
I get that, though. Like, because, like, you see yourself, you see your reflection in the mirror. So, like, therefore, you see your quote-unquote soul in the mirror. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like when I look at the mirror and I see the handsome fellow looking back at me, I'm just like, wow, that's a part of me, man. I don't know. I wish I had something funny to say.
Gavin, you have so much self-love. I love it.
It's all
Can I be like that?
No, but like, yeah. Anyway, so going back to more serious. Yeah, I can see how mirrors in and of itself would probably like, they didn't understand how it works. I mean, I don't understand how mirrors work, but I'm sure in the Roman times or whatever, they definitely did not necessarily comprehend how it works. So I mean, I'm still not convinced that mirrors aren't like an alternate reality and we're just seeing a little world of it.
Well, we're getting deep on this podcast.
Whoa. Wait, Gavin, hold up a second. Go into that a little bit, because I'm intrigued.
I think mirrors are just an alternate reality. And then when we walk up, since we like, if we hold our hand to it, if we're like touching ourselves or something, like you can't get through it because they're doing it on the other side also.
So it's like blocking you off?
Yeah, who knows what's going on in that mirror world? There could be some. Insane. I mean, we could be in the right timeline. They could be in the right timeline. I think you referenced it in a previous episode, Leah. What's the thing from Community with the dice?
The darkest timeline episode, where
we could be in the darkest timeline, or that could be the darkest timeline.
Well, this year definitely feels like the darkest timeline.
Yes, this year is definitely the darkest timeline.
This year is definitely the darkest timeline.
No, but also mirrors are kind of like another thing. A lot of horror kind of movies and stuff revolve around mirrors. Like personally, me at night, I hate looking into mirrors. I don't really like mirrors as much as I love looking into them and doing makeup, but I get freaked out.
I would never want to be in like a room where like, you know, like where like the closets, the whole wall is like a mirror and you could like see yourself from your bed. I don't like those types of rooms. That's not, no.
So like, you know, it's the interesting thing to go off this has nothing to do with what I just read, but it's something that I learned about in psychology when I used to be, you know, a psych major. So your brains like to put together all the information, even when there's not a lot there. So in the dark, like Leah said, you don't like looking in the mirrors because it's dark and you know, you might see something in there. The reason that you see something, like when you're a kid, the reason that you think that there's monsters on your bed or monsters in your closet or there's a ghost behind you in the mirror is because your brain can't see in the dark. So it has to fill in the gaps with what it thinks is there. So when you have an active imagination or you think there's going to be a ghost in your mirror, your brain puts that together to where you actually see something in the mirror when there's nothing there.
Oh,
so the fact of having
that's interesting.
Like Bloody Mary and just like there was a movie with one of my favorite actresses, Karen Gillan, the Oculus movie. It's like mirrors are kind of scary. And like when I go to the bathroom in my apartment, the first thing that you see is a big mirror. And I'm just like, oh, don't look. So I try not to look at the mirror. But anyways, what's the next thing on your list?
So it's something that you criticize me on a lot, Leah. So I'm gonna guess. You know, I'm gonna let you guess what you think this is. You criticize me.
You're opening a bad thing, Leah. What do you criticize?
What do you criticize me?
You are.
No.
We're gonna.
See, we're just gonna go down a list of things until she figures it out.
What happens is something happens. I don't say this thing, and then you go manners. No. Manners. You go manners, because I didn't say something after this.
Because when I sneeze,
P's and
Q's? I say bless you. Like that's how I was like raised, and I'm sure some other people were raised like that. And when I like met Chris for the first time, when I sneezed, I didn't hear anything. I was like, excuse you, but you're supposed to say bless you. So anyways, continue.
So the reason that you say bless you after you sneeze is because, so this is what they say, the social etiquette of blessing someone after they sneeze originates from the ancient belief that one could sneeze out their soul. So this is kind of goes into the fact of the ancient people had this huge idea that your mouth had your soul or something. So when you yawned, like evil spirits could come in and take your soul, or when you sneezed, you could sneeze out your soul. So that's why you cover your mouth when you yawn, and that's why you say bless you after you sneeze. So they say yawning and sneezing were both considered high-risk activities in the time of the ancient Romans and Greeks. There was a lot of ancient beliefs in general about a separable soul, so it could separate for a brief period of time. So like they say, like when you dream, your soul is out of your body, so it can't come back in if you're sneezing. So they say, bless you.
Can I just say it's 2020 and it's a pandemic, and if you yawn or you sneeze outside and like someone is like, if you're yawning, let's say I'm yawning, you're sneezing, like I'm trying to make an inference.
Are you saying
here,
like if we're across from each other and like like that's just a wide open, that's just dunk right in the basket.
I mean, also it's like manners to cover your, like if you're sitting in class in a lecture.
Oh my God, wait! Have you seen people on Zoom do like the biggest yawns to their camera and like not cover their mouths?
Yeah,
because I think that is hysterical that there will be people in a Zoom call who just do like just a huge thing to like their camera, and it's like, yo, you're on camera. What are you doing? Close your mouth or like turn away.
I don't really see many crazy things happen in my Zoom class because I don't really think Ithaca kind of has that. I think if you were to be like Indiana or like Syracuse or Michigan,
bigger,
like you'd
like
see
a bigger
some
school,
or a huge,
right, like you'd see some crazy stuff. Like,
oh my God,
we love Zoom.
Yeah.
I thought going back to sneezing and saying bless you and stuff, I thought the reason that people said bless you was because I could be very wrong, but if either of you guys know this, I thought that your heart like stops for a second when you sneeze. So it's supposed to be like blessing you because you like aren't like dead for a second, but because like your heart stopped for a second.
I've heard of that. Sorry, I'm yawning. I've heard of that.
We're just talking about yawning, and then now we're all yawning, and now it's a whole thing.
I have heard that explanation before. I have also heard the explanation that when you sneeze, you're actually expelling demons. So that's why you say bless you, because like, bless you, you just warded up those evil spirits.
No,
so
you just expelling.
There's a bunch of,
man, cover your mouth.
Right. There's a bunch of different explanations for it. I think when you talk about like ancient Greeks and Romans, like that kind of sounds a little earlier than these beliefs. So I think it originated from the fact that when you sneezed, they thought that your soul could leave your body. And so that's kind of where it originated from. But there are different like explanations why.
Yeah, I mean, that could just be I'm sure that they didn't use the reasoning of your soul leaving your body for like modern, like there's a different reasons for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting one. I like that one. Let's move on unless you have any other points.
The next one that I'm going to be talking about is about ladders. And this is such a huge thing that I never understood why walking under a ladder is so bad. So apparently walking under a ladder that's leaning upright against a wall is bad luck. And this happens because of the shape that the ladder makes when leaning up against the wall. So if anyone's unfamiliar with the Christian faith and how big the number 3 is in the Christian faith.
Hey, over here.
Right. So 3 is very important because it talks
about... As in you are not knowledgeable, Leah, or you are knowledgeable?
That I'm not knowledgeable.
Great.
So this is perfect.
Enlighten us, Chris.
So in Christianity, there's something called the Trinity, which is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So that's 3. When the ladder leans up against the wall, it forms a triangle, right? So you got the, right triangle. So it forms a triangle, and that has 3 sides and 3 corners. So when you walk through it, it's like kind of like you're breaking the Trinity, which is like a blasphemous offense, I guess, for some reason. So, just don't walk through the triangle and don't break the Trinity. So that's why they say it has bad luck, because it stems from Christianity.
But like, also, I don't think, like, either way, I don't care what type of a ladder it is. I wouldn't walk under it because, like, things can slip, people can fall, you can get seriously hurt. So I think also it's kind of just having sensible judgment as well.
Yeah, I mean, a safety precaution.
Exactly, like, safety as well. Like,
yeah, I did not know that one, but that one, not that it makes sense, but it makes sense. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous, but they're all ridiculous superstitions that probably aren't real. Knock on wood. But it, like, I understand that one coming from like a religious context as opposed to the soul stuff, which maybe that also stems from a religious-esque context with the ancient Romans. But
I'm sensing I'm sensing a theme, and this has to do with the definition of superstition, which I never really went into. But the definition of superstition is like, it's like a belief, or it's like a widely held but unjustified belief in a supernatural causation to lead to a certain consequences of an action that you do. So it's like a practice based on a belief. So it's kind of like the definition makes sense why there's a lot of religious stuff going on, because it's supernatural. And that's where a lot of, I don't know, supernatural things happen in religion.
Yeah.
So a lot of these superstitions are based on either pagan religions, Christian religions, Jewish religions, you know, all that stuff.
Interesting. All right, let's keep it moving.
So I'm going to give you a hint. What day is this episode coming out on?
Oh, Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
Right. So there's a number in that sentence, 13. And so this is why 13 is so bad.
Isn't it in New York City where there's no, like, is it 7 or 13?
I think 13. Like, there's no 13th floors. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah.
Well, I assume that's because of this, because 13 is an unlucky number. So, Chris, why is 13 an unlucky number?
I'm assuming, so this is what my source says. I don't know how accurate it is, but I feel like there's a lot of reasons why 13 is so bad. This is probably just one of them. And this also has to do with both Norse mythology and Christian traditions. So if you're familiar with the Last Supper, this is the dinner that Jesus had before he died. It's his last dinner. It was actually a Passover dinner. Little known fact.
Ooh, we love getting drunk. Oh wait, that's wrong holiday.
No, that's the right one. Passover.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, with the eggs and with the.
I'm Jewish. I should know this, but I'm Jewish. So anyways, continue.
All right. So Judas was the 13th guest to arrive at the Last Supper, and he's also the person that kind of betrayed Jesus and got him killed. So he's no bueno. Also, but in Norse mythology, Loki introduced the world to chaos when he arrived as the 13th guest to a divine dinner party and tricked a fellow guest into shooting the god of joy with an arrow. So because he was mischief and all that stuff. So those are just two explanations as to why 13 might be a bad thing. I'm sure there's plenty of other pagan stuff and different things about why 13 is a bad number. It's rooted in, you know, Judas was the 13th guest to arrive. Loki was the 13th guest to arrive. So it's just, there's a trend that 13 is bad. And so that's why there's a lot of fear around 13.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That one is very interesting. Right. Yeah. It's interesting how it's this like it's not just like from one old religion, how it's like connected. And also it's not like Judas and Loki are like similar figures, but just in different mythologies or religions. Like that they are, it's like, it's not like you're saying like between like Greek and Roman mythology. And it's like the same type of stuff. It's like they're different characters who serve different reasons in those mythologies and religions.
I just looked at another source just to make sure that the 13 is right. And this source also says the two examples of where this came from is Loki and is Judas. So two sources are saying the exact same thing. This is where the number 13 became unlucky, was because of the Last Supper.
If two sources on the internet are saying it, then it must be true.
Well, you know.
And if it's on Wikipedia, it must be true, because it's not random people can just go on and change the text.
No, it's all true. Everything, you know, we wrote it down and we read it. It's true. We trust the internet. We trust. Why would they lie to us?
So after hearing about Loki and Judas, what is next on your list?
This is also due to Judas, our boy Judas. This is why spilling salt is bad. So spilling salt is bad luck. A reason for this is because if you look at so Leonardo da Vinci was a sly guy. He added this little thing into his painting, and Judas actually knocked over a thing of salt in the painting. This is not where it comes from, but he definitely added the superstition into his painting. In the painting, Judas knocks over the salt, and that's like a sign of bad things. And the reason for that is because it says so Judas betrayed Jesus. The salt he knocked over started to get associated with his misdeeds. So it's basically if you knock over salt, that's an invitation for the devil to come. What you're supposed to do to ward that off is you're supposed to throw the salt over your left shoulder, and that's supposed to blind the devil who's staring over your shoulder. So the salt's going to blind the devil, and it's going to, counteract any of the bad juju you get from spilling the salt in the first place.
I think I've heard this one. Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
Is this the thing? There was a movie that came out called La Llorona or something like that.
The Curse of La Llorona.
2 years ago. And they had salt or something on the perimeter, inner, outer perimeter of the house. Does that kind of have to do with this, or?
Maybe. That could just be that could be another superstition that salt might ward off evil spirits. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm sure it's rooted in the same thing, because salt and spirits, that how are they connected like that? It's such a huge coincidence that there has to be something up there.
So if salt wards off evil spirits, what does pepper do? Is that
make you sneeze?
Makes you sneeze.
Make you sneeze, which in turn, then stuff is leaving your body, and that's the whole. It's the circle. That's the whole thing. Anyway,
I think we just figured it out. You heard it here first.
We just discovered the circle of suspicions. That's it. Done. End of episode. Thanks for listening. Let's continue, Chris.
Tune into
the. Follow us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Smash that bell icon. We did it. We solved suspicions. I know that's possibly the biggest issue in the world right now, but we did it. So you're welcome. And that's all.
If you've made it this far in the podcast, now it's time for the sort. No, I'm joking.
And now we've lost our minds.
So
let's move on. What is the next? Let's go. Right. Let's keep moving.
We've referenced this many times in this podcast so far. This is why knocking on wood is something that wards off jinxes. And this is something that has nothing to do with Christianity. This is where I was talking about pagan cultures having a huge thing about this.
Screw the Christians, man.
Right. Get them out of here. So
let's get into it.
Knocking on wood is a tradition that stems from ancient pagan cultures' belief that spirits and gods lived in trees. So they said that knocking on the tree trunks was therefore an attempt to rouse the gods and call upon them for protection and good luck.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's why when you do a jinx and they say knock on wood, you're calling to the gods to stop it. To step in and say, no.
Help me.
No more bad luck for these.
That's cute.
Yeah, that actually is pretty cute. I could imagine little
That's my favorite one. If we go at the end, just so you know, that's my favorite.
We're going to. But yeah, that's adorable. I love that.
Like that one. It reminds me of the SCP that Leah had that has the what is it? What do they call them?
The guy.
The pseudopods or whatever they're called.
I was thinking about something else, but yeah.
Oh no, I'm thinking about the little octopus looking thing. Yeah.
The pseudopod. If you haven't listened to SCP Part 2, by the way, or the first SCP, because that's in there.
If you haven't checked out SCP Part 1 or SCP Part 2, check it out. This Strange World, wherever you get your podcasts. Those are great episodes. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, moving along. So 4-leaf clovers, they're big.
They're nice. Well, they're not that big. They're pretty
uncommon. Not that big. They're hard to find.
Right. This also has something to do with Christian religion, but it also has something to do with Celtic stuff.
What else is new?
I know, right?
Yeah.
They say the odds.
Man, religion. Right. Go ahead.
They say the odds of finding a 4-leaf clover are 1 in 10,000, making them very rare to find. And the legend goes, if anyone's not familiar with the legend of Adam and Eve, I'm just going to do a quick little run through. Adam and Eve in the Christian faith were the two first people, to be humans. They were the first two humans, and they were in this garden, and they ate a bad fruit that they weren't supposed to eat. And so they got kicked out of the garden, And so now they're like, that's why humans are walking around the earth and stuff. So the legend goes that when Eve learned that she was going to be kicked out from the garden, she took a 4-leaf clover with it. She took a 4-leaf clover with an order that she'd never forget the Garden of Eden. Now 4-leaf clovers are considered to be good luck and give prosperity and fortune and all that good stuff because they came from the Garden of Eden, which is a place of paradise, fortune, and good luck.
I like that one.
Have you guys ever seen a 4-leaf clover before?
Never.
Not caught one or found one, but seen.
I think like in person, like a real one, you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sure I must have seen it at some point. I've never found one myself, but I'm sure at some point in passing or somewhere in my years of life, I've come across one with either someone else showing it. I must have, but I've never found one myself. Have you?
I've never found one, but I had a teacher in 4th grade who had a little, in there, it was a tiny one, surprisingly, that he found, or I think his son found and gave it to him, and he framed it, and I was like, whoa, that's insane. They're so hard to find, though. But apparently they taste really good because Petey, my horse, likes, well, my mom and my horse likes clovers. So,
Aww.
I don't think I've come across a 4-leaf clover, but I hope to, especially in this year. If there's a year to find a 4-leaf clover, it's the beginning of winter in 2020.
Good luck.
Thanks. I'm gonna need it.
You mentioned before that the 4-leaf clover was it's a nice little thing to think about. It's a nice one. Leah, you mentioned that you really like the one about, what was it? The one about knocking on the wood and the gods living inside the trees. This one you're going to think is really nice too. So this is why shooting stars are good luck and why you wish upon shooting stars. A Greek astronomer named, I'm going to butcher this. I have no idea how to pronounce it, but it's like Ptolemy. It Ptolemy.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Right. He theorized that the presence of shooting stars meant the gods were looking down from the sky and opening up space and time to grant our wishes. So he's saying the gods have opened up the space that divides Earth sky from the divine sphere in order to watch over humanity. Shooting stars were wont to slip. This is a grammatical error on my little thing here, but it says shooting stars were there to slip through the Great Divider. So if you saw one blazing through the night sky, you knew the gods were watching and listening to you.
Wow, that's interesting because I feel like that almost implies that the gods know that you want something because you wish on a shooting star. You don't wish before a shooting star. So that implies that they know that you want something and they sent a shooting star and then you wish on that. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know if that's thinking too much into it, but I think that's the logic. That's my logic.
I think that, yeah. I kind of overall think that it's pretty cool that that's what would you call it? That's like a superstition as well. Because like, I don't know, when you hear thunder and you see lightning, you think, oh my gosh, it's Zeus and he's angry or he's bowling or gets a strike or so. That's another thing that kind of wraps into, I guess you could say, mythology.
Right. The next one I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to start you off with a hint, a little riddle. So finish the saying. Step on a crack.
Break your mother's back.
Yeah. So one might think that stepping on a crack can break your mother's back. And that's been around as long as sidewalks has been a thing. But it's actually been a lot older than sidewalks have been a thing either.
As long as sidewalks have been a thing. How long have sidewalks been a thing?
A while, because they were in the Roman Empire as well.
What did they have before sidewalks? Just walking in the streets?
Like mines and forests.
It's just walking on sand. As long as cities has been a thing, there's been sidewalks.
Okay.
As long as wheels and carriages have been a thing, there's been sidewalks. Yeah. But it's actually a lot older than sidewalks. So let's see where it came from. So the superstition comes from European and African American folklore. Cracks signify an opening between this world and the other one. Stepping or standing on a crack brings bad luck or health issues to yourself or a family member. And that's not all, because cracks in walls allow spirits, ghosts, and fairies to enter your house. If there's an ant colony in a crack and you step on it, get ready for some rain. And if you see grass growing in cracks, the next winter will be a bad one. So cracks are the portal from this world and the one after.
I really love when superstitions kind of go into another type of dimension or another type of like simulation. So this one, of course, is like one of my favorites because like you're opening a door to another dimension and stuff like that. But that was like my comment.
That's pretty cool. I like the idea of there's other bigger stuff besides us. Really, I think that goes into that one. That's a good. I dig it. It gets a yes from me. That's I don't know if we're ranking or this is a yes for me, but it gets a yes from me.
Yeah, I agree.
So I got one more that I really want to get into. So this one has nothing to do with religion. Has everything to do with people being stupid. This has everything with people not knowing how medical history works. Leah.
Yeah.
You've been to a funeral recently, right?
Oy vey, why?
What color did you wear?
Black.
Right.
With a little bit of white because I had to, because that was the only thing I had.
Sorry to bring up bad stuff. I was trying to get. As I said that, I feel really bad about that. I feel.
Dude, you're fine. Literally, it's fine.
So this is why you wear black at a funeral.
Cancel Chris. Bring back Leah trying to cancel Chris.
I feel.
I guess you could have said, like, when you go to a funeral, what color do you wear? Black. Okay, now this is right. Instead, Leah, you went to a funeral recently. What color?
Can we restart that? I feel really bad about that. I don't want that being
it's fine. It's fine.
No, Chris, I'm sorry. It's candidate Stason.
I feel really bad, Leah.
Chris, it's fine.
Only the worst person ever, guys.
I'm sorry. All right.
Only the worst.
So we wear black at a funeral, and this is why. So it stems from superstition, but it has nothing really to do with religion. This has something to do with people not really understanding how medical stuff works. So in many ancient cultures, actually, so they considered death to be contagious, like it was a disease, like death was something you caught. So they said it was wise to avoid someone who had recently been around a dead person. And so that meant that everyone who went to a funeral had to wear black. And so that was like, stay away from me, I'm contagious. Stand 6 feet away, social distance, 6 feet, wear a mask. Yeah. So this was a way for, in Rome, especially, this is in ancient Rome too. Wearing all black was a way to let everyone know that you had been in the presence of death. So stay away from me. I might be contagious. I might give you the death bug.
I mean, also it's really interesting because Chris and I were in a world archaeology class. And it's interesting because we had learned that when people had passed away, and like beginning of time, not time necessarily, but like human race or whatever started to evolve, that people had passed away. They were buried like under the house or like in the house. Remember learning that, Chris?
Yeah, it was
really creepy.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of interesting to see throughout history and time how funerals and death have changed. So that's like pretty interesting, actually.
And even in today's culture, but different cultures celebrate death differently, completely different. American culture, death is such a bad thing. Death is such, oh, I'm so sorry. Like it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. In other cultures, like I think, I don't want, correct me if I'm wrong, but in, Mexican culture and coco, right. So death is something that people celebrate because they crossed over to the other side. So they celebrate the people that die. It's sad and they grieve because obviously you miss the person, but it's not as sad as it is in American culture and in Western cultures. It's very different.
That's why I like that type of culture because, like, for like with Mexican and Hispanic culture, it, like you said, it's celebrated. Like people had a good life, or so it is like celebrated. And I mean, here, if you were to wear a bright pink and yellow and blue dress to a funeral, it wouldn't necessarily.
It would reflect pretty poorly on you. I feel like with the wearing of black, I feel like that also has to do a lot with like mourning, which again, like you're just saying, I feel like that's more of an American thing to be like mourning as opposed to celebrating life. I was just talking about this the other day in class that someone had brought up why we wear black at funerals. And yeah, I did know that it had to do with like Roman times or something, that they wore like dark colored togas or something. That was like, if you look back at like the origins of why people wear black, but I definitely think it has to do a lot with like the mourning aspect and stuff, which I think is an interesting thing to look at, of comparing cultures, of how different cultures deal with death. I think that's a good point, Chris.
Right.
And that just shows how at least, what are we? We're a Western culture, right? Are we Western? Is that what we? No, are we? I don't know. The whole thing with like Western and Eastern cultures. That sounds. Wait, what are we considered a Western culture?
We are. Yeah.
Then yeah. Western cult. Like that's probably just something with like a Western culture thing or American thing specifically.
But that's why also other cultures are like really interesting because they celebrate things or mourn over things differently than we do.
Yeah, that's the world, man. The melting pot that is the world. We just solved people not liking each other. Not racism, but like people not getting along. We just solved world peace, guys. That was it. We need to celebrate all cultures. Done.
Good work, everybody.
Well, this has been the strange part. Now it's time for the sources. Wow, two home runs. I'm Gavin. Who's Leah? Wow, 2 home runs in one episode.
After we talked about superstitions, and now I kind of want to do a little speed round about things that aren't superstitious, but they're very interesting. It's the common traditions that we do every single day. And so this is the origins of those everyday traditions.
Like things that we don't really think about doing?
Right. Like pinky swearing, shaking hands, high fives.
Best man's some of the stuff we shouldn't really be doing right now, but do at your own risk.
Not in a pandemic.
Pandemics. Right.
Things that are just like customary type of stuff. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Cool. All right. Well, let's hear some of it.
Yeah. So shaking hands. So the customary handshake is a nearly universal nonverbal greeting of respect, but its ancient origins were far more precautionary in nature. It turns out that offering someone your hand when meeting was done in a way for each party to inspect whether the other person was secretly holding a weapon in their palm. So the reason that we shake with our right hand is because most people were righties. And back then, everybody was righty. Even if you were a lefty, you were still a righty back then. So when you had a sword, you would swing with, you'd hold your sword with your right hand. So shaking somebody's hand meant, I don't have a weapon, you don't have a weapon. So it's like a thing of trust. So it's really like, it's essentially clearing the air before you get down to business. And so that they know that you're not going to secretly stab them when you go close to them.
I'm kind of grinning on that just because of the fact that when you look at like Alexander Hamilton and his like face off with Burr in the play, in the musical, they projected it as Burr and Hamilton shook hands, went back, 1, 2, 3, drew. So it's just like, that's kind of like the connection that I was making is that like, yeah, they didn't have any weapons in their hand at that moment when shaking hands. Obviously, I don't know what happened. I'm not a time traveler. But then the irony there is that one of them ended up biting the bullet.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. It is so customary. And I think, it seems like it has those old kind of origins, but especially nowadays with like not touching each other's hands and doing like elbow bumper, nothing of that in particular. I think it'll be interesting to see kind of post-pandemic what the kind of new social norms become. Like even like when we're like 5 years from now, when we are hopefully well past the pandemic, like if we're going to fall back into handshaking or if it's going to almost be customary to like not handshake. I don't know. I didn't hate handshaking. Yeah. I thought I had a good handshake, so I liked it.
If you go to like a job interview, we're seniors and we're about to graduate from college.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Yeah.
It's so weird, like not like you said, shaking someone's hand. Like in the beginning of the pandemic, I went to the doctor's office and I stuck out my hand like, "Oh, nice to meet," and then I was like, "Oh, never mind." But like, it's weird. It's really weird.
Yeah.
I don't want to be rude.
Exactly. It'll be falling into those new social norms of everyday traditions. Chris, hit us with the next one.
When we're at a wedding or when we're at a party and someone holds a glass up and says like, let's do a toast. This is why we do that. This is a very interesting, and it's honestly, I had no idea why people toast for things. The explanation is like, oh, that makes sense. But like, I never knew that this was the reason for it. And so we toast. So there's some people that think that the clink, when we clink glasses like a toast, it's because we're experiencing all 5 senses. So we're experiencing sound, which is the 5th, which is the clink, and then you drink, which is the all that stuff. But there's even more claim that the reason that we toast is because and drink right after we toast is a way for nobles to avoid being poisoned because they're ensuring that their guest was also drinking at least some of whatever's in their cup. So they would do a toast and everyone would drink to make sure that everyone's not getting poisoned.
I dig it. I think that one's interesting too.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't think I have anything to say on it. That's cool.
It is cool. The next one we'll talk about is probably one of my favorite ones that I'm going to be talking about, just because they do a lot of it in The Office. The Office has an entire episode entirely based on this tradition that I'm going to be talking about. So when you go to, this is another wedding thing. When you go to a wedding, you have bridesmaids, groomsmen. We also have the best man, and you pick the best man. The reason why it's called the best man, and the reason why you have a best man, dates back to 16th century German culture. And so this is, if you've ever watched The Office, you know the episode about where Dwight's wife is kidnapped, and so they have to go and find him, right? So this is German culture. Do you remember that? Do you remember that episode?
Like, what the? Why am I being kidnapped? It's so funny. Check it out.
Yeah. So this is interesting because it says, when the groom bestows the honor of the best man to one of his buddies or brothers, it's more of a symbolic gesture. However, back in the day, the groom's choice was a little bit more calculated than that. He would pick a man who was best. That's why it's called the best man. He was the best at combat skills. And it was customary for 16th century German Goths to kidnap women from their neighboring villages for eligible bachelors. So when they would kidnap the bride, the best man had to go and combat the people to get the bride back. And that's why he would choose the best man.
Oh. Dang, that's really cool.
Is it that they kidnap the bride specifically, or they just kidnap a woman?
They would kidnap women from neighboring villages for eligible bachelors. So, but I think it's still a thing, because I was doing a little bit more research on that a couple months ago.
Still a thing.
Oh well, it's not. They don't get kidnapped. So it's a traditional kidnap. So what happens for a lot of German, and especially very very traditional Germans, they would kidnap the bride. And then the man would have to get, like, the thing that they do in The Office where they would have to search the bars and then, buy everybody a drink. That's a real thing. So it's a real thing in Germany, where if you're really traditional and you go, buy the really tradition German stuff, they would kidnap the bride and you'd have to find them in a bar or a pub and you would have to drink. So that dates back to the 16th century when they would kidnap the brides. And that's also goes to the best man, to where he would have to combat them to get the bride back.
Like, watch my wedding. Watch me have, like, bridesmen at my wedding.
Right.
Because I'm not friends with many girls, and, like, I have a lot of guy friends, so, like...
Mm-hmm.
So would they be doing kidnapping, or you think they would probably be getting kidnapped?
I don't know. Whichever they want.
That's a very fluid and woke wedding.
Yeah. They can decide if they want to wear a dress or not as well. All right.
Exactly. Great.
The next one on the list is
about bridesmaids. Why do we have bridesmaids at weddings? Very convenient that this is what we're talking about right now. Very good transition. This is why we have bridesmaids at weddings. So before they were just the bachelorette party planning BFFs that helped the bride through her big day, they were actually kept around.
Party. Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to keep that out of the podcast, but this is literally the sentence I was going to keep out. Okay, ready? Before they were just the bachelorette party planning BFFs that helped the bride through her big day and brought an assortment of shaped products. That's literally the next line of this thing. I think you should.
I think I will.
They were actually kept around for protection. So they were actually they were requested to wear the exact same outfit as the bride. And this was to confuse the evil spirits who wanted to harm the bride. So the evil spirit wouldn't know which is the real bride. So all the bridesmaids would wear dresses all similar. So he wouldn't know who to attack.
Okay, so Chris, you helped me to make my decision as to what the bridesmen are going to wear, and they are going to wear dresses.
So that they all look like you to confuse. That's exactly.
Even though I have longer hair than them, but
that's fine.
That who knows? They could all be wearing wigs to look like you.
Oh, that's true. Gavin, you got some ideas.
Listen, this is so that I can be one of the bridesmen.
Would you want to?
My hair's already. It's just not straight, but just put me in a long brown-haired wig. We'll see where we can get. That's interesting though. That going back to what we're actually talking about. So you said that the bridesmaid, like, would they fend people off, the demons off, or whatever?
Did you confuse them?
They would just
Or they just confuse. They're like a distraction.
Right. So the evil spirits wouldn't know who is.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. I dig it.
Yeah. This one, I love this one. This one is why. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know British people drive on the left side of the road and we drive on the right side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that British people were driving carriages and stuff so they were so this is okay, so I'm not making this up. So when people started to transport, they would drive on the left side of the road, and this was before cars were a thing. This was before Americans even drove on the right side. This is before America was even America. Back in like ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome, they were all on the left side. So Britain is actually, when they drive on the left side of the road, that's what they've been doing for literally thousands of years, is driving on the left side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why. So it all goes back to the thing of everyone was right-handed back then. So you needed to have your right hand, So when you're driving on the left side of the road, so it says riding your horse or chariot on the left meant that your right arm, which is where most people were dominant, because back then everybody was righty. Even if you were lefty, you were still righty. So you wanted to have your right arm free. So in case someone was going to attack you, you could just whip out your sword and just start swinging when you're riding a chariot on the left side. So that's why everybody was riding on the left side of the road, because you had your right arm free to like swing at people coming at you.
I mean, also when you look at like jousting and stuff.
I was about to say jousting. Yeah, that you're probably
sorry.
on. No, that's great. That you're probably on the left side because you're probably holding it with your right arm to hit something like that. Yeah.
Also, there's like different types of like riding. There's like Western riding, English riding, dressage, a whole bunch of stuff. But I think I'm not 100% positive on this. I haven't tried it, but it seems really fun. I do want to try it. Whereas like Western riding, you're more laid back, you're more in your seat. And I think you mainly have the reins in your left hand, because the other ones.
Is it so that you can
lasso, cavalry kind of stuff? Yeah.
Sick.
So I'd love to try Western, because first of all, the horses are like really smooth, and like it
horse
seems
girl.
So
is Leah a horse girl?
Did you not know that?
No, I did know that, but I'm sure the listeners didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Horse girl Leah. Wait, so Chris, you said this is then why people they drove on the left side of like England and like those cultures. But so that you don't know why they drive on the right? Why we drive on the right? You do?
I do.
Oh
I looked this up just now.
How convenient!
How
why
convenient!
Do you drive on the right side of the road?
When cars were invented, Henry Ford had a huge influence on American driving customs when he built the Model T, and he put the driver on the left side of the car. Different from what Britain and what Rome and what Greece had done for thousands of years, when they put the driver on the right side of the car. When he put him on the left side of the car, it meant that when you're driving people around, he wanted to make sure that passengers could leave the car and not get hit by traffic. So before, in the old days, when you would pull up to the side and people could get hit, they could get hurt. So he's saying drivers would have to drive on the right side of the road so that passengers could exit the car on the curb and not hit oncoming traffic. It was more of a safety thing.
Interesting how I feel like the left side of the road is for a safety-esque thing in terms of being able to defend yourself and with a sword or something, versus driving on the right, it's more so for your passengers to be able to safely get out.
Also depends on surrounding drivers, like how
much more based on the fact that you're driving a car. When you drive on the that's the when it was the left, it was like when you're riding a horse or something. But then driving on the right, it's purely because of cars.
Mm-hmm. So I have a bunch more. I don't want to keep anybody waiting, so I'm just going to do these rapid fire. Go through maybe like 5-second commentary if you want to do them. Right. This is the speed round. So this is where standing ovations come from. Ovations come from ancient Rome when they celebrated victorious military figures. However, this was a step below the greater honor of the triumph. So they would it was from ancient Rome. People would stand up celebrating. Yay! They would stand up because it just looks better. It's nicer. Yeah.
Interesting.
Painting nails. Where does painting nails come from? This custom started when the warriors going off to battle in Babylonia in 3200 BC, and the color signifying their class.
Wait, so like these like men warriors were like painting their nails?
Mm-hmm. They were painting their nails to signify what class they belonged to.
That's so woke.
This is where thumbs up come from. Thumbs up. It's believed that the positive gesture derives from English archers in the Middle Ages. The thumbs up was the correct brace height of the longbow, indicating that everything was good to go.
Because you don't want to be shooting a bow and accidentally.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if the version of the thumbs up was like, it could have easily been like, peace sign. Hey guys, we're all good to go. Peace out. Like,
right.
Could have been something else.
It's like a thumb. That's like the measurement. So they're like, it's good. It's good to go. This is where brushing your teeth comes from. Aside from health.
Aside from hygiene.
Right. So aside from health and all that stuff, ancient civilizations before the toothbrush used chew sticks, which is a twig with a frayed end. So they would chew on it and that would clean their teeth. And that was since 3000 BC. Since then, China invented the bristle toothbrush using a hog's hair and bamboo, and they did that in 1498. So before 1498, people were brushing their teeth with chew sticks.
Yeah, that's just like a big toothpick. It sounds like
basically, yeah. They were chewing on it, and it was cleaning their teeth.
I'm sure their teeth weren't that clean.
No,
yeah,
no. I think a lot of people died in their 30s back then. Okay, so. The ring finger. Why does the ring go on your ring finger? Especially on one hand. Yeah. I just learned this like a couple days ago. Right. Ancient Egyptians. Yeah, you know this one. You know this one. Ancient Egyptians believed a vein ran directly from the fourth finger directly to the heart. And that's why we wear the wedding finger on the fourth finger of, I forget what hand. Is it the left hand?
Left hand.
Left hand.
Bruh.
And it goes straight to the heart. It's so sweet.
That is sweet. That's cute.
It's so sweet. Encores. When we go to a concert, not anymore because of coronavirus, but encores. Back in the Baroque days, audiences would demand that musicians mid-song replace sections that they enjoyed. Kissing. Where does that come from?
Yeah, where does
kissing come from? Thing.
It's such a normal thing. No other species do that.
Yeah. It's very interesting. So the first evidence of kissing is in Hindu Vedic Sanskrit texts that describe kissing as soul inhaling. But however, researchers and biologists and everything think that there's a much more natural way of why we kiss. And they believe kissing serves as a culturally acceptable way for people to get close enough to another to detect their pheromones to tell if they're a good mate or not.
Oh. That's interesting, but makes sense. I mean, I don't think today's standards people are really getting pheromones unless it's a subconscious thing.
I wonder if I think it's a self-conscious thing.
Maybe. I don't know. That's, yeah. Leah,
interesting.
Thoughts?
I think it's kind of like cute, but yeah, you wouldn't want to kiss anyone right now, today, for a while.
What if you're just trying to get the pheromones of your homies?
Then
Kissing
air
the bros.
kiss the air.
Kissing the bros.
I wonder which I don't know if this is another one that you have, but like kissing people on the cheek as a greeting. Do you have that one on your list or no?
No, I don't think so.
I wonder if that's almost related to and almost a similar type of thing of like greeting, a combination of pheromones and greeting people and like almost exposing your neck to show that like you're not threatened. Like if it's a combination of all that kind of sort of thing. That's my prediction. Because I know also like with like the head nods and stuff, you're not talking about that, are you? Right? Like nodding up or like nodding down at people?
No.
Because I know that when you nod up, it's supposed to be like more of a sup to like people because you're exposing your neck versus when you do like a nod down, it's like a respectful nod to someone that like, did we talk about this on here or is this just something that?
I think this is just something I've never heard that before.
I've never heard of that.
I think I've talked about this recently to someone. I thought it was on here. It must have been somewhere else. Of like when you nod up, it's like to someone you know, and it's exposing your neck versus nodding down.
Like a trust thing? Like it's like
a trust thing. Because the difference between like nodding up or like nodding down. Yeah. I wonder if that has to do with it too. Of like that exposing your neck. Of like when you're kissing someone. But then you got the whole
hand like, what's up? Ow.
Oh, that was more like fight me.
I can't do that. But yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Let's move on.
All right.
Yeah.
Crossing your fingers when you're lying. Someone that I think we all might think lies a lot. Why do they cross their fingers a lot? So Christians believed that doing a cross, so literally the exact same crosses you're thinking of Christian, like the cross that Jesus died on stuff. So Christians were believed that when you cross your fingers, it would absolve themselves of the lies that they were about to tell. So they thought that making a cross and then telling a lie would be like, never even happened.
Is that why, like, they also think if they go to, like, confession, they're absolving their sins or whatever?
Well, that in the Christian faith, that's actually how you do it. I think the finger crossing is just like a very throwaway thing, like, oh, I'm crossing my fingers, it's not real. Yeah. So that's the way you do it. Like you'd have to go to confession. That's how you really get absolved. But this is sort of like a tradition, that's where it comes from, is that people thought that if you did the cross with your hands that you'd be cleared. Yeah.
Well, that's fake news. That's not real. We're all going to hell.
So speaking of hell.
Transitions? Speaking
of hell, there's a lot of fire in hell. This is not really a tradition, but I'm trying my best. There's a lot of fire in hell. There's also fire on birthday cakes. Birthday cakes with candles. Yay!
Love that transition. Thanks for using the setup.
So why do we make...
You know how we all think of hell when we think of birthday cakes?
Oh, yeah.
Candles.
Of course. Especially my birthdays, I think of hell. Okay. So the reason that we make a wish and then blow out the candles is because ancient cultures believed that smoke brought prayers to heaven. So when you made a wish and blew it out, the smoke would carry your wish up to the heavens.
Aww.
That's cute. That's another cute one. I like the ones that we've talked about where it's like kind of like cute and like sweet. Mm-hmm. That's nice.
I'm going to end on one more. I have one more. I'm going to do one more because the other ones are...
That's great. Last one.
Bunny ears. What's that? When you're joking around with someone, you put your fingers behind the ear. Bunny ears behind.
I just remember being at my grandma's 100th birthday 3 years ago, and my cousin would put like bunny ears behind my head, and the rest of my family members were so pissed off because we stink at family photos because like we never pay attention, and then so just anyway, nice memory.
You are
but
about to be heavily embarrassed when I read what the meaning is behind the bunny ears.
I think I got him back though. So what is it?
They are called back in the day. So back in Middle Ages, they were called cuckold horns. And so the cuckold horns gesture derives from the Middle Ages, where the symbol was used to mock a man whose wife had cheated on him.
Oh, well,
I got him back. Can we add that?
I did not expect that at all.
But I got it back.
So that's where it comes from. So when you were a kid and you gave your friend bunny ears in a photo, you were basically saying that his wife cheated on him.
Oh, I thought it was that he cheated on his wife.
When you're trying to be like really discreet, but yet you're kind of like...
Wait, is that the wife cheated on?
Well, I think if you did it to a wife, it meant that she cheated on him. If you did it to a man, it meant that his wife cheated on him. I'm sure it would go both ways.
It was the other way around, but yeah, no, I get it.
I mean, I'm sure it does. It's basically like a symbol that just makes fun of the man.
I'm sure that between the Middle Ages and now, definitions may have changed.
Oh, I think definitions were loose back then.
There might have been some language barriers in between now and then. Cool.
So that's what bunny ears are. Yeah.
Wow, what a lovely one to end on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Leah, you mentioned already what your favorite is. We can go through favorites.
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite? Which one was your favorite?
It was a knock on wood, and
you
said something else as well that I really liked.
You like the one about the heavens, right? The one about shooting stars.
That too, but I also like the candles.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was like really sweet.
What were some good ones? I don't remember a favorite. I like those two. I don't have a specific one off the top of my head. What were some good ones that we talked about that we had good reactions to? It was quite the list.
It was a lot. That was a lot of information. We went through those fast. I really like the one about the guy driving on the left side of the road to allow himself to duel. So he had his right arm free to attack people. Oh,
I also like that, and I like the shaking hands one. Those are interesting.
Right. Yeah. I like the best man. Because I never knew why they were called the best man, and it's because he's best at dueling.
Yeah. You got to have the best man.
Right. Best man for the job.
Exactly. Well,
that's what it is. There you go.
That's a great note to end on. We've now reached the end. Thank you, Chris. That was a pretty significant amount of research for this. When you said you were going to be talking about like superstitions and stuff, and this was what I was expecting, but that was a lot of information. I might have to listen to this again to process all that information. I mean, I'm going to edit it, so I will be listening to this again. But that was a lot of great information, a lot of fun facts. Really just a compilation of fun facts, really.
Honestly. Well, that's the best. That's the most fun episodes, is when it's just a bunch of fun facts.
It is fun. That is fun. Leah, what did you think about everything?
That's like really interesting because a lot of the stuff, like you said, we do / did every day, or we maybe as kids tried to avoid, like stepping on a crack or going under a ladder, breaking a mirror. So I feel like your topic could relate to different ages as well, because like I said, some things kids might do.
We've been aware of this. This is not new.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So very interesting.
Very cool. Well,
thank you guys.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. But if it's not gonna be, 5 stars, it's okay.
Yeah, you can only put in the effort if you're gonna have nice things to say. We're trying to, create a nice environment here. If you got bad things to say, keep it to yourself, or DM us on Instagram or Facebook or.
What's the quote? If you don't have something nice to say, then
don't say anything at all.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, this has been The Strange World. I'm Gavin.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Chris. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at This Strange World Podcast and on Twitter at This Strange Pod.
And now it's time for the sources, because we didn't come up with all of these superstitions. They are very prevalent, and we definitely found them from somewhere. So, Chris, where did you find all of your information today about superstitions, everyday traditions, etc.?
So I found, when I was doing my rapid fire, I found my information from cracked.com, 19 origins of everyday traditions explained. Another thing I got for superstitions was from insider.com. That was history and origins of superstitions. I also had thethrillist.com, bizarre origins of 10 everyday traditions.
So many past few episodes have had such long lists of sources, so it's very refreshing to have a short list of sources.
Oh, of course.
Thumbs up to that. Guys, the archery is ready, guys. Bows are drawn.
Bows are drawn.
We're ready to go. We're ready to fire.
Wait, guys, what's the thing that we all say at the end of the podcast?
Oh, yeah, we can say it on 3.
Yeah.
Ready? Yes.
1,
2,
3.
Don't walk under a ladder. What did you say, Leah?
I don't know. I didn't know what to say. I just said hi. I didn't know what else.
What did you say, Chris?
I said bunny ears.
Oh, I said don't walk under a ladder. I couldn't think of something fast.
Don't step on a crack or you'll break your mother's back.
Don't step a line or you'll break your father's spine.
What?
Don't step on a line or you'll break your father's spine.
Okay, cool.
That's the sequel. The direct-to-DVD sequel. Well, on that note, bye.
Bye.